Hi, unhosted.
Hi, how you doing, Greg?
Fine, thanks. How about you?
Nice, yeah. A bit disconnected from Twitter, so this is always nice.
Fresh head, right?
Yeah, a bit.
Very good. Um, yeah, so some time passed, like 3 months passed, and or maybe more since last time we spoke, right?
I think so. We recorded the first episode like in late January, I think. Yeah, like 3 months.
Yeah, I think so. The spam is still there.
Hmm. Yeah, of course. I mean, the fix is not in core yet, so and the needle hasn't moved a lot in Node's adoption or alternative clients, so this is where we are for now.
Yeah, somehow disappointing, isn't it?
Well, I mean, not really. It's kind of what I expected. You don't move the needle in uh, a super majority like Core has in like a month or so, but despite that, I think that the things are moving in the right direction.
Interesting. Um, but the pull request has been open for more than a year already, I believe, right? Like,
Which one do you mean? Because the original one, I think it
yeah.
was closed.
Yeah, but yeah, I meant the original one. Although I know there is another one opened, which is very similar. Just makes
Okay.
uh, just makes the change optional and doesn't turn on um, the patch by default. So
Ah,
people
right.
will
This is
need
the
to
this
do
is the
it
one
manually.
that okay. This is the one that Sipa commented today.
Uh, Probably I haven't seen it yet,
Okay. I
but
saw
yeah,
his
but
comment, but I didn't read the code. I assume it was, yeah, some sort of, I don't know, like an iteration of the patch. But if you said that it's a pull request that adds the patch, but it's not turned on by default, his comment makes even less sense. I don't know.
so is
uh,
he for or against?
he's against, but basically, if this kind of flag is turned off by default, you're just making it easier for node runners to make their own choice. So I don't think that nobody should reasonably oppose to that.
Agree. Interesting. I'll take a look at it. Um, yeah, the good thing is that we have alternative already. So for people that would listen to this conversation, just want to explain that Luke published Bitcoin and Nuts, which includes uh, the bug fix. So we have the alternative. We can run Bitcoin Nuts, which is enhanced version of Bitcoin Core. So yeah, fortunately, we have the option already available for those who want to stick to Bitcoin Core. Either they can compile um, mm, that by themselves, or maybe they can also join the discussion in GitHub and voice their concern, and maybe it will somehow convince maintainers, Bitcoin Core maintainers to merge that pull request, right?
Yeah, in principle this is how it works, but I guess it will turn into a shit show as these pull requests always do. But in any case, I guess it's good that we have Bitcoin nodes. Maybe it will be good to remember the audience about what Bitcoin nodes is, because there's a little bit of misconception there, I think, when I discuss it on Twitter. So it's basically, people say it's a fork, but fork implies that it's a separate code base, and it's not really that. Bitcoin nodes is really core, but with a set of patches that Luke, for whatever reason, he thinks that belong there. So you could think about it as Bitcoin Core Look version, and you can agree or disagree with what is there, but at any rate, it's Bitcoin Core and follows the same consensus rules as Bitcoin Core. And the kind of things that it has compared to Core, it's basically spam filters and more options for the node runner to exert a bigger control over his node. So I think maybe we could go over a few of the options that Luke has added in the latest releases of nodes. I think maybe it will be interesting to go over this. There are a few that are relevant to node runners, I think.
Yeah, let's do it. Luke released the new version 26.1, which is which matches Bitcoin Core 26.1, which is the latest kind of stable or full version of Bitcoin Core, as 27 has not been released yet. So yeah, let's describe the options in Bitcoin nodes.
Okay, and even then, I don't think that it will be like Bitcoin Nodes 27 won't be released right after Core, because I understand that it's a lot of work to prepare these releases. But maybe we could start with Bitcoin Nodes 25, that I understand that it's the version that Ocean uses to generate block templates, and it was the first release of nodes that included the mitigation for spam, and it's turned on by default. But it also has an interesting option if you're a miner, maybe if you solo mine, or you have what's that name? That project from Scott 19. I forgot the name, but the small miner. If you have a small miner and do lottery mining, you can play with a bit with some of these options, and there is one to remove the SegWit discount on arbitrary data on the witness section. So that means that you could, for instance, still accept spam, but remove the discount or even jack it up. So I thought that was interesting. What I saw it a few months ago.
So that would mean,
yeah,
that would mean that the block would be smaller. The block that would be produced, it would be smaller, right?
I don't think so. What it would mean is that, for instance, if your mining node saw a transaction that tried to embed a 40-byte inscription, by default, these 40 bytes would be charged as 10 virtual bytes, because it's in the witness section, and this gets a 4x discount by default. But what this flag does is removing that discount, so these 40 bytes will be charged as 40 virtual bytes. But even then, you can jack it up. You can say, no, I want to charge 10 times what a normal virtual byte. So instead of 40, he would be paying 400. And then this would adjust the effective sats per byte that this transaction is paying according to your node, and would prioritize it accordingly. So for instance, if according to the witness discount, this transaction was supposed to pay 15 sats per byte, maybe you jacked it up the price for the data carrier, and then the new calculation says that this is just 3 sats per byte, and it's prioritized accordingly.
Got it.
Did that make sense? It was a bit confused, but the general idea is to remove the discount from the spam, which I think it's quite an interesting solution, because in theory it's aligned with incentives of the miners. So I mean, it's good that it's there.
Yes, I also think that what is called SegWit discount is not is in the end net negative for Bitcoin, Therefore, I opened a discussion at Delving Bitcoin and also the mailing list about it. It's not moving forward, but I think there are many more people who voiced their concern. Actually, there were people already voicing their concerns before SegWit was introduced. So, yeah, probably today there are even more people like that when they see the evidence of or the impact of that so-called discount. Then, as we can see, even there is even the patch who already removed the discount, right? The thing is that it's I think that the biggest advantage of that patch is or will be if miners use it, right, to produce templates.
Yes, exactly. Well, those that mine at Ocean already do, because Ocean is generating block templates that they don't actually filter all the transactions, but they treat them as op returns. So basically they run their block template generating node with this option and permit data carrier size to 40, that it's a default that has been in nodes for over 10 years. And it's a bit controversial, but it is what it is, and it's been the same for a lot of time. And basically what it does is treating inscriptions exactly the same as if they were op returns. So since they don't get the discount and they are capped at a fixed length, there is no advantage to use this mechanism compared to op return.
Right, I think it gives gives the right direction. Hope to see it implemented more widely.
And then this is what caught my eye of the latest release of nodes, and in the last one, in 26.1, there is another one that is accept non-standard data carrier transactions. I'm not sure. Okay, yes, this is filtered on by default. This is also a very old topic, that is the whitelist for input script types. So a long time ago, when Satoshi was still around, you couldn't just, you could, but nodes didn't rely by default any kind of script that you put in inputs in transactions. So you could only do multisig and maybe a few more, not really sure because I wasn't around. But this concept was something that was called the whitelist, and this was dropped in 2014, and now Luke has picked this concept again and re-enabled it in Bitcoin nodes. So only known patterns of safe script are allowed in inputs. But of course, allowed just means while they are unconfirmed. If one of the inputs that it sees, like it's a regular multisig, this is accepted in your mempool and relayed to your peers. If it's something wacky like an inscription or other kinds of data inscription that can be done with non-standard input scripts, then these transactions are not relayed. And I think that this actually makes a lot of sense. So Bitcoin should be conservative, and we should only relay things that are known to be monetary transactions. So I don't see no reason to relay everything by default, because this incentivizes people to exploit the network, but also to do silly experiments on it, on the production environment. That it's something that honestly doesn't make a lot of sense. We have 3 different kinds of testing environments in Bitcoin, and this kind of test should be carried out in either on testnet or regnest or signet, but definitely not mainnet. So this is also a cool addition in version 26. And then there's another one that is Dust Dynamic. This is something that has been speculated in the latest months too, that basically instructs your node to drop the transactions that are paying fees below a certain limit that you set, like anything paying less than 10 sats per byte, just drop it from the mempool, regardless of if it's full or not. I think this is how it works. Haven't tried it yet, but something that's nice to see. More options for node runners in the end to control their mempool policy.
Interesting. You mean that the transactions with low fee are not related?
Yeah, let me read about it, because there is no experimental and disabled by default support for dynamically adjusting the dust spam filter threshold. It can be enabled in the UI or configured blah 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 to adjust based on a fee estimate or confirmation for n blocks. So yeah, okay. So how this works is like it instructs your node to drop transactions from your mempool that the node estimates that won't be confirmed in less than whatever you say. Like anything that won't be confirmed in 100 blocks, drop it. It's like kind of a dynamic dust limit. So I guess it doesn't work based on the fee, but rather in the absolute amount of fees that is paying, like in sats. You know what I mean? Because the dust filter is an absolute value. I think it's like that 546 value that you see everywhere in the transactions that that are spamming the network. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of interesting to see all the options that are there in Notch.
Yeah, I'll take a closer look into it. For sure, the spammers kind of mark their transactions by, like many of the transactions are just kind of financially immaterial, but also like economically illogical. Because, for example, they in extreme example, they don't even pay any fee. Like you can find transactions that the spam which pays zero fee. Apparently it was out of band transaction, so it wasn't relayed by mempools. And there are also examples of transactions which probably were relayed by mempools, where the amount of transaction is almost similar or very low in comparison to the fee. So in typical case, when we see such a transaction, we think, oh, there is some mistake made by a user, maybe or maybe some bug in the implementation of a wallet, and so user thought they would pay some small amount of fee to send meaningful transaction, but in the end they send a transaction which amounts to lower value than the fee. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, this can happen, especially when you have a lot of small UTXOs and you consolidate them. This in combination with a period of high fees can really wreck you. So yeah, maybe you want to consolidate 20 UTXOs that all together are worth like $200, and you end up paying $100 in fees. But this is kind of normal. The problem with the spam is that it overpays by a whole lot than just half the value of the transaction. It pays like 99 of the value that it spends, it's paid as a fee, and this really fucks up mempool incentives. because when someone is paying $5, to say an example, to inscribe a bit of data in a transaction, people who want to transact are immediately outpriced, because if you want to move value, you won't move $5. I mean, if you see a base layer of fees that are paying $5 and it's like the minimum that it's being paid at any given moment, you won't transact if you want to move, say, less than $200 or $300, $500. Why? Because you won't accept paying 25% commission to move just $20, or a 10% commission to move $50. So the problem with spam is that it prices economic activity much larger than the spam itself, and destroys economic activity and stalls the bootstrap of Bitcoin as a monetary network. That's how I understand it.
Yeah, and to give even kind of more extreme example, sometimes they pay $5 worth of Bitcoin to transfer $6 worth of Bitcoin. So doesn't sound...
Yeah, or even less, or $5 to transfer 1 cent, which is something that doesn't make any sense at all.
Exactly. Coming back to Bitcoin Notes, do you know any other changes that were applied?
I mean, there are a lot, but these are the ones that caught my eye, because to be honest, some are a little bit cryptic, but the ones that I mentioned, the removal of the SegWit discount for that inscription, the spam mitigation, and the whitelist in B26, I think, are the ones that might be interesting to regular node runners. And it's also interesting to mention that looks like some node distributions are already starting to support nodes, and you're able to switch between node and nodes with a flick of a button, so this is nice.
Yeah, precisely. So Bitcoin Notes was added to Homebrew, and I think also to Start9, and it's available, I think, from apt for Ubuntu, right?
Yeah, I think so. I saw a tweet recently from Luke that said that he updated the PPA that was a bit outdated. So yeah, it's nice to have options. It's also normal, I think, that the uptick in nodes is very slow, because you really don't touch these things unless you have a good reason to do it. To be honest, I'm not running nodes yet, because I haven't had a reason to update my node. I'm still running Bitcoin Core 23 with your Disrespector patch like a year ago, and I really don't have no reason to update, so I haven't done it. But I guess that if at some point I see some feature that catches my eye, I will go for the nodes flavor of the Bitcoin client.
Sure.
What about you? Are you running nodes?
Yeah, and before I used to run Bitcoin Core, but since there was, the mempool was just full of spam transactions, I decided to just turn off mempool at all. And then only later I learned.
Then you can't transact. You can emit your own transactions, right?
Yeah, I'm not a frequent user of kind of mempools. Okay. I'm not broadcasting transactions every day.
Okay.
So it was not an issue for me. But anyway, in the end, I found Bitcoin Notes. I found it was exactly what I was looking for. So then I switched, and now I run Bitcoin Notes. For those for the listeners, there is a website WTF happened in feb23.com, where informations about Bitcoin nodes and where to download it from are published. So let me repeat, WTF happened in feb23.com. Do you configure Bitcoin Core, like your node, with any particular settings in Bitcoin Conf, and in particular, what's the setting of op return or data carrier size option?
To be honest, I have the same default that comes with Core, because I sometimes use Whirlpool, so it works for me to have the default at 80. And I don't really touch it much, besides maybe activating some spam filters that are already active in nodes. So that's why I think I will migrate to it at some point when I have the necessity, because at the end it's just less work. But besides the Ordis Respector patch, that it's some hacky thing that doesn't even have a config option, I run with permit bear multisig turn off. That this is basically the same kind of spam filter, but for the stamp spam. That it's some kind of nonsense that was invented 10 years ago too, in the first op return war. Basically the same idea, using Bitcoin transactions in a retarded way to embed data in them in an even more pernicious way. I would add, but fortunately this spam filter has been in Core for a lot of years, also thanks to Luke, who seems to be the only developer that cares about these things, but for some incomprehensible reason, after all this time, it's still turned off by default. But it's very easy to turn it on. You just go to your configuration file, add the line, restart Bitcoin, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
What do you run that is non-standard on your node, or do you just go with the node's default configuration?
So I also change configuration. One of the change is to disallow any op return transactions. I sincerely think that op return could be just renamed to op spam.
Yeah.
So I don't see a reason to just relay any like arbitrary data.
They are more likely to rename it to op data or something like that, because they seem to have a thing for vandalizing the documentation, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, but other than that, I don't recall any major changes except for maybe user agent name, and yeah. Probably
this is a really interesting one, I think, that not many people know about, because this, what it does is just stops relaying any transaction that has any kind of embedded data in them. Maybe I would run with data carrier off if I didn't use Whirlpool or BIP47 from time to time. But if you really don't have a use case for op return, you can safely disable it in your node. And I think it kind of makes sense. So the more the spammers push for inscribing data and continue with the denial of service attack that they've been performing on Bitcoin, the more people will be fed up with it and will run these kinds of options. So when you see spammers derping around in Twitter saying, no, because we can do this and that, and whatever, using op return, no, they don't. You just turn op return off with data carrier 0, and that's it.
Yeah, my perspective is that there are 21 million bitcoins, and I need Bitcoin network and the kind of protocol to transfer those sats, to move bitcoins from one UTXO to the other. And I really don't need anything that you can use op return for. And I hope that even Whirlpool or whoever else uses op return for whatever reason, I hope they would also consider other options, how to implement the functionality they offer, and not just use op return. And we'll see.
Yeah, I would also like that, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, and you also mentioned this permit bare multisig, I believe, option, right? So just to share the observation from Bitcoin Core repository, I think it has very long history, and like any other change that improves control of mempools and actually improves the network, because I think all those changes are in the end beneficial for the network, I mean this network of mempools. And yeah, people might not be familiar with that, so I'd like to inform that the discussion, the PR is open for many years, I believe. And I think it's still open, unlike the patch of Luke that stops false op if transactions, which are kind of
the inscription data envelope.
Or we can say even this that they stop the exploit, right? Because there is already CVE registered for that. So let's call it let's call it like that. And the thing about this, why I'm mentioning the case of Luke Deschar's pull request, like the topic is closed. Like you can't comment on it. Nobody can comment on it in Bitcoin Core repository. There was just the comment that it's the discussion is too heated, I think, and it's not even picked up in other places, like in IRC chat, like Bitcoin Core maintainers, they just don't let the topic develop or progress, which is surprising, I think. Personally, I don't see many changes in Bitcoin Core in the I don't know, past 3 or 4 releases. That would be interesting. Like your example shows you run 23.0, and I can understand it. Like if there were, like, you even applied your the patch on your own, so apparently that would be the change that many more people would welcome.
Oh, definitely. I think that if the spam filter mitigation was merged, everyone would lose their shit to update. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I don't have any particular insight on that, but I guess that they want to be conservative in, I don't know, their careers. They don't want to upset someone, and they prefer to work on memory leaks in the Raspberry Pi than do something that would be seen as controversial, you know?
Yeah. And it is controversial. Like it will always be, because there will always be the other side of the um, of the of the discussion, I would say, because
Yes, but the other side are attackers. I mean, of
exactly,
course,
exactly.
the spammer will defend his right to spam, but he's a spammer.
Yeah, they will.
And in the end, what they are doing is anti-scaling technology. Everyone loses their shit about scaling, but I mean, in the end, it's not even about the fees. The problem is that we have the blocks, and the blocks are being taken with random data, and you have an opportunity cost there. If you are putting JPEGs or JSON or whatever nonsense instead of inputs and outputs, you are effectively carrying out a denial of service attack on the network, and you are downscaling it. You are reducing the throughput. So you can think of these filters as the most straightforward way to scale the L1. And it makes all the sense in the world to put them in the client. So yeah, I
Fully
don't
agree.
know. I guess it's also good that we have options and that there are alternative clients. We just need to educate the people about all these issues and let them do their free choice of client. If they don't like what they see in core, they can try other things, and if they do, they can be in core. But in the end, what's important is that node runners can make their own choices, because this is the really to me it's the really important spoke in Bitcoin, because miners can be easily centralized, developers just the same, but random freaks running nodes in their homes, it's what really keeps the system decentralized. So they need as much power as they can get, and mempool policy is something that lies I mean, they have full control of mempool policy. You can even shut down your mempool. So this shows that you can really do what you want with it. Whatever you can do with mempool policy is because it hasn't been implemented, but it could theoretically. And as you said earlier, I think that it would be good that node runners have as many options and as much power as they can over their own nodes mempool policy.
Fully agree. I would even I'd prefer blocks to be empty rather than full of spam. Like if
Well, it would be another kind of attack, because you wouldn't be able to transact anyway, but at least it wouldn't be so hard on the node hardware and resources.
Yeah, that's the point. That initial block download would not increase, and yeah, we wouldn't relay those spam transactions. So, but that's the extreme case. Yeah, so maybe let's also talk about a few other news or maybe updates about spam or in the in media. So I think you may have seen shows by Mechanic or in Once Bitten podcast or other materials. Did you?
As I said, I've been a bit disconnected of it all recently, so I haven't had time, but yeah, I have them on the bookmarks. Were they good? I think people have been discussing them a lot, so...
Yeah.
Any particular highlights? Yeah.
No, I highly recommend to listen to the whole show. Too many highlights to pick
Okay.
just one. Yeah.
Well, to me, the highlight is that that Peter McCormack invited Mechanic to discuss all these topics. I'm really glad, because I give him shit on Twitter, but I mean, it's good because until this point he has only interviewed spammers, so it's nice to have the other side of the story, I guess.
True. Yeah, we'll see if there will be uptick of node runners who use Bitcoin nodes instead of Bitcoin Core. So far, so good. I saw that the number of such Bitcoiners raise a bit. I called for running Bitcoin nodes already a year ago, and I think I haven't seen any major move. So maybe this time we'll see more people making such choice.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, changing your node, it's not trivial. I mean, it is, but you can expect developer kind of people spinning nodes up and down all the time. But for a normal Bitcoiner node runner, it's a chore to switch from one implementation to the other. So I guess it's normal that you don't see huge changes, but it is what it is. I mean, you just need time. As I said, not even me has switched already because I am already satisfied with your Disrespector patch, but things will play out with time.
Maybe we need some video to be published or something. Some guides, some stuff like that. But yeah, we'll see.
We can keep working on all this stuff too.
Do you have any opinion about Lightning? Do you think that spam contributed to any, I would say, decline, if there is decline in Lightning?
Well, I have my personal experience. I think it had an impact. I used to run a Core Lightning node. I set it up in mid 2022. And I mean, it was a very small node. I didn't want to route payments or anything. I just wanted to have a few channels with a few peers that I knew personally and use it as a personal wallet. And it worked great until the spam began. So yeah, in 2023 I started to see more failed payments, basically it wasn't as reliable, and it come to a time that maybe I had like a 50% failure with the exact same channels that I had a year earlier and worked great. So I had to take it down and move to Phoenix. That it's another self-hosted option, auto-custodial option, but doesn't has all the burden of having to maintain channels and deploy so much liquidity. So yeah, I definitely think that it had an impact. I'd also read that people used to disable their own channels when the fees were really high because they couldn't afford to have forced closes or something like that when the fees were so high. So yeah, it definitely affects the Lightning Network too.
Yeah, like I see the same. Like when talking to local Bitcoiners, I learned that they just stopped opening new channels at least. So seems that spam really affects Lightning. Right. What's the outlook? What do you think will happen in the next year?
I mean, I don't know. It seems like things are not looking really great if you look at numbers, but things are sometimes like that. They were exactly the same during the block size war. So in the end, what I want to focus is on educating people and giving them options and letting them make their choices. And if they don't like what they see in core, let them opt out, like they opt out of Fiat. You know, to me that's the important thing and what we can do at our scale.
Do you expect like more people?
I mean, I expect that as long as Core doesn't fix the exploit, or at least does something to try to mitigate it, people will be moving to other alternative implementations. At what rate, I really don't know. But this will be the dynamic for as long as they don't even try to do something about it.
And how about spam attacks? Do you think they will subside? Like many people still believe that high fees will solve.
No, I don't really think they will, because if they can, they will. Once they figured out how to do this, I don't think they will stop by themselves unless there's some kind of friction put there.
And have you heard about people moving to pre-sequit nodes?
Yeah, sure. I don't think it's a good idea, but in the end, it's just a free choice. If they decide that they want to run a node and simply discard the SegWit data, it's something that it can be done. I wouldn't recommend it, but for several reasons we could go on them. But there's definitely a savings in block space. I did the experiment for a friend that was interested in running a pre-sequit node, and you can save like it was something to the tune of 150 gigabytes of data in your node, but you lose a lot of things, and you are no longer in consensus with the rest of the network. So that's the main reason I wouldn't recommend it.
Got it. Anyway, it's interesting idea, I would say.
Yeah. It's also like running Ordis Respector in a way, because these old nodes, they don't recognize SegWit transactions, so they don't relay them too. So you get two things for the price of one, but again, these nodes are not in consensus, because consensus is all the rules. Even though soft forks are done in a way that are backwards compatible with the nodes that are already in the network when these soft forks are activated. The fact is that when a soft fork activates, this new rule becomes part of consensus, and it's not really optional. I mean, it's not like the SegWit rules are less important than the supply cap, so to speak. So basically, when you refuse to run all the consensus rules on your node, what is happening is that the other nodes are deciding the chain for you. Your node is no longer capable of discerning what is the correct, so to speak, chain, because it would accept blocks that are not accepted by the rest of the network. So you are kind of relying on the rest of the network to tell you which one is the correct chain. And if miners happen to turn adversarial and decided to stop mining Bitcoin following all the consensus rules, it could create a hard fork. So there's also this element that adds instability if there are a lot of old nodes running less consensus rules than all that are activated at some point. What's your take on that? Because I don't think I've even ever read your take on pre-sequit nodes. I'm kind of curious.
Like for now, it's I like to see the experiment. I want to learn from it. I'm still researching trying to analyze, the trade-offs and
Mm-hmm.
all those factors that needs to be considered. So yeah, I didn't go to so far to downgrade to a downgrade or upgrade to pre-seg with Node. First and foremost, I was kind of worried that I may lose some bug fixes, like security bug fixes. So
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't do it. Also, I find like 23, but also, frankly speaking, I think there was also there were also like performance improvements in 26, and since I spin nodes from time to time, I really appreciate like performance improvements, and I think it takes. I believe it doesn't take so long to for IBD, for example, um, with newer versions. But again, I mean, it's too early for me to give any educated opinion. So
Okay. Well, do your own research. It's what everything is all about.
yeah, I don't trust.
I
I
can
want to verify.
tell you, you can check it by yourself, but I can tell you that neither Fulcrum nor Electors works with the last non-SegWit version of Bitcoin Core. I wanted to make this concrete experiment because I wanted to figure out if you could kind of live a modern life using Sparrow Wallet with a pre-SegWit node, and turns out you can't.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see what happens. How about Taproot? Do you know if there is increased adoption of Taproot except for spammers?
I mean, it's difficult to say, but I'm inclined to think that pretty much all the adoption that we've seen is due to spam. I saw a tweet a week ago maybe, that was like the percentage of UTXOs in the UTXO set that were of each kind of address, and how much Bitcoin they holded on average, and it was pretty illuminating because Taproot was already like over 20%. It was like 30 something percent for legacy, air quotes, legacy addresses, 30 something for native SegWit, and 20 something for Taproot, and then a tail of other things. And you could see then also another column with the average volume, average amount of sats that there was in each kind of address. And for legacy addresses and native SegWit, it was something like 10 or 9 million sats in average, but in Taproot it was only 100,000. So this kind of indicates that Taproot is only being used for spam, that most of the UTXOs just have the minimum value above the dust threshold, and yeah, it's I mean, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah. The thing is, I also don't see much people moving to Taproot, and I don't
There is
even.
no reason to do it, because even if you look at the economics of it, it's more expensive than native SegWit. It's cheaper to spend, but it's more expensive to send Bitcoin to Taproot addresses, and when it evens out, it's like 1.5% more expensive than native SegWit. So there's really no incentive to migrate there if you are a regular transactor.
I would disagree. Like
Okay. There are really scenarios where you can save fees. For instance, when you can do aggregated signatures, when you have something like a two of two address in a Lightning channel, these kind of transactions can be much smaller. But it's not a matter of agreement. I can show you the numbers. I mean, the Taproot UTXOs are really so much larger because they are 32 bytes compared to 20 in native SegWit. And when you check what you are saving in fees in the inputs and what you are paying extra in the outputs, it's a bit more expensive.
I think I know what metrics you look at. I'm just trying to say that there's a lot of nuance, and people have different scenarios or unique situations, and so it's not that easy to say, oh, it's like 1% cheaper.
Okay. Well, I will just say that this is just factual, that the most common transaction that you see in Bitcoin blocks is the one input to output transaction that is like a payment with change. This is like maybe almost half of the transactions that you see in blocks are of this kind, and these kind of transactions are almost 10% more expensive in Taproot than in native SegWit, and this is just a fact. You can see which is the cost in virtual bytes of each kind, and you will see that this is the number.
Yep, that's a side topic probably, so let's maybe not discuss the Taproot, but
I will just add to say something positive, that Taproot has the aggregated signatures, and in theory it's possible to do cross-input signature aggregation. And what this would do is that when you are consolidating inputs in a single transaction, you can just put a single signature in there that is the expensive part of the input, and all the other inputs would be much smaller, and this would be actually a great incentive to do conjoins and to consolidate, and this really would make Taproot cheaper than all the other options if at some point we have cross-input signature aggregation. So it's not all bad. The algorithm itself it's more it's cheaper to validate compared to the cryptography that older kinds of transactions use. So I mean, it has good things.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to be a hater. It also has some good things in there.
Yeah. I also see a lot of benefits from Schnorr signatures. So, I'm kind of also proponent, and I also watch closely the development, and I just I'm just surprised that the adoption of Taproot is driven mainly and almost exclusively by spam.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess it's the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about.
All right. So yeah, I think there are a lot of topics to discuss, and I think I'd like to have more and more information about spam and discussions about spam available in general. So I hope we would have chance to discuss other topics in the future too, maybe at some regular interval, let's say. But for this episode, let's say it was pretty dense, so I need to stop here.
Okay. It's pretty late too, so works for me.
Is there any final thought you would like to end the meeting with?
I don't think so. Nothing comes to mind. Just wish you a good night.
Thanks. Is there any communication channel with you? Do you use Twitter that you would like people to find you?
Yeah, I basically spend my free time on Twitter. It's OOMAHQ, UMAC, and yeah, you can find me there ship posting all the time.
I believe it's not shit posting. I'm following you, and I'm not following too many people, so.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have
Means
time.
a lot.
I don't have time for reading shit posts. So yeah. Okay. From my side, for those who listen, consider running Bitcoin nodes. Just give it a try. I don't think it's that difficult to switch from Bitcoin Core at all. You don't like. You just need to replace one with the other. Yeah, and also I encourage.
Maybe it would be good to clarify, because I don't even know this. Can you replace a running core with nodes? Do you need to resync the chain again, or can you reuse the data directory?
I think you don't have to.
Okay, then it's really easy.
Yeah. So yeah, should be fairly easy. I think I'm thinking about recording a video, and it's kind of manual how to make it. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it this week, but I'll try. All right. So I would also like to encourage people to explore other options, to think for themselves, not to just not to trust, just verify, especially things that are connected to spam. This spam is not just it's not just random data or some let's say random event. It is there is a big there is a big group of people behind it. They don't do it voluntarily, so just don't fall into those false narratives that they promote. Don't transfer any sats to them. I think twice. By the way, I don't know people who already fell victims of them. I think there are not that many. I think it's mostly kind of just a narrative that there are people behind it, that there are any people enjoying those spam promoters and what they do. Probably there are some people, but I don't think there are many, and I don't expect many among Bitcoiners.
No, not really. I mean, the scam itself doesn't has any legs. It's pretty easy to see. Maybe we can cover this in another episode. We can take the scam apart, both parts of the scam, the inscriptions and the ordinals. But like yourself, I don't see many Bitcoiners falling for it. On the contrary, they have fallen to the psyops and think they cannot do anything about it. And maybe they really can't if they don't run a node. Running a node is very important. If you are a pleb, you should run a node and make informed decisions, like deciding which kind of implementation you want to run and tune it to your own beliefs, and what do you think the network should look like.
Exactly, that's also the signal, just like we will do with publishing this discussion.
Exactly.
People may signal their the direction they want Bitcoin to go by running Bitcoin nodes instead of Bitcoin Core. Yeah. All right. Then thank you for for your time. Good night as well. And
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
yeah, let's meet again in a month or two and make another episode.
Okay, perfect.